Hey everybody, Matt with Valera here. And in this video I'm going to show you how to use HeidiSQL to manage your database on the dayz package server. Basically, all of our dayz package servers have the option to install a private MySQL server. This tutorial expects that you already have MySQL installed. If you're running in the Valera Hive configuration, you cannot connect to the database externally. That's a large central Hive database that everybody uses, so we can't allow users to connect to it. But if you're using the private MySQL server, this tutorial will work for you. We generally recommend using a tool called HeidiSQL to connect and manage your database. There's several other ones you can use. Probably the most notable is Navicat. It's a paid software, so what we'll show you in this video is a free solution so you don't have to buy anything. The first thing you're going to want to do is navigate to HeidiSQL.com. Once you get to their page, click Downloads. From there, click Installer and save the file. And we'll wait for that to finish. I've already downloaded it once, so we'll go ahead and run the installer. And you just want to, just like installing any other program, you just click through the options, tell it to install where you want it to install. And we'll go ahead and put this on a different drive. Once the install finishes, you can have it launch Heidi or not. I always uncheck both of them. Alright, so now we have HeidiSQL installed. So the next thing we need to do is make sure your server is running in the control panel. The MySQL server is directly linked to the server in the control panel, so if it's stopped in the control panel, your dayz server and the MySQL server are not running. If it's running in the control panel, they're both running and you can connect to it. So what we'll go ahead and do is launch HeidiSQL. And when you get to this screen on a brand new installation, you won't have any of these session names over here. I just have a lot of servers I normally connect to, so those are all there. So by default, that'll be blank. So what you do is click New. It'll give you an unnamed profile. Save it whatever you want. And then we need to enter the login information. So the first thing we'll do is enter the IP. And one thing to take note of, this confuses a lot of users. When you install your map, by default it uses an IP that is 127.0.0.1. Don't use that IP when connecting from Heidi. That's what's called a localhost IP. That can only be used from the physical server that the database is running on. You cannot connect to that IP remotely. So what you'll actually need to do is enter your server's normal IP. So in this case, it's 192. You enter in the IP there. And then the username is going to be root. By default, our MySQL servers come with two users. One is root, one is dayz. The root user is a full permissioned user. They can do whatever they want with the database. The dayz user is a restricted user that can only do certain things with the database. When you connect to modify things externally like what I'm showing you, you want to use the root user. If you connect with the dayz user, you're going to be limited on what you're allowed to do. So what you'll do is enter the password. If you don't remember what it is, in the control panel you have this change database details button, or change password for the database. And here it'll show your password, and you'll just go ahead and enter that in. And also we'll need to enter the port. Each server has its own database port. It's always +1 your game port. So this server I'm using as an example is using 2302 as the game port. So the database port would be 2303, and we'll enter that. You can leave everything else as default. Click Open, and you'll get a prompt to save the settings. You want to go ahead and save those, and that'll launch you into the MySQL server. On the left here, you can see all databases that are currently located on the server. There are several of them by default. You have the dayz database, which is used by almost all maps. You have the dayz 2017 database, which obviously is used by dayz 2017, and then I-44. Those two are separated into their own databases because they have some differences compared to the normal dayz database. From a management perspective, for you guys, it's easier to have them in a separate database to ensure everything works smoothly. But for demonstration purposes, we'll just use the dayz database. And when you open it, you can see all the different tables here. Some of the common ones are your survivor table. This is where all player data is stored. You have your vehicle table. These are all the different types of vehicles that can be spawned. You also have your world vehicle table. These are all the vehicle spawn positions. Instance vehicle is your current vehicles that are spawned on your map. and we'll go up to the top here. Buildings are custom buildings if you want to add them in. By default, there's no data in this table. If you want to add custom buildings to your map, you can add all the different building class names here, and then in the instance building table, you would make entries there for each position you want those buildings to show up. Next, we have custom loadouts, and this is different than a normal custom loadout. These are custom loadout profiles. It allows you to take certain people. You can create a loadout group, so if let's say you want admins to all come in with a certain loadout, you create that here, and then in the custom loadout table, you assign that group to their UID. I'll do some different videos later for custom loadout groups and some of the other options you can do in the database. This is just a quick general overview. Besides that, you have your deployable table. This is where deployable items are stored. As an example, tents, bear traps, wire fences, all of that stored right here. Your instance table, you will see this table has a lot of instance IDs in it. The reason for that is what we do is we pre-fill it with 100,000 instance IDs, because with every one of our servers, they all use your service ID as the instance ID. So we want to make sure it's in the database. The reason we use the service ID is if you want to connect multiple servers to one database, it makes less configuration that you have to do if you decide to do that. The instance tables are already there for you, so regardless of the instance ID of the other server, it'll already have an entry for it. So you can see here in the control panel, if you look in the URL, you have service ID equals. That's your instance. So in this case, 8527. In Heidi, if you want to find that specific entry, you'll click on filter, type 8527, hit enter, and there you go. That's that instance. And we'll continue on here. We have log code, log entry. You can ignore those. Migration schema log. You can ignore those. And we're back down to the ones that we've already gone over. Just one other quick tip if you want to find a certain survivor in the database. Let's say you just want to pick a certain person and edit their health or their inventory. You can track them down. I'm not sure if I'm actually in this one. Yep, I'm in this one. So what you'll do is you'll find their unique ID. Most people only have one. I happen to have two in here. You copy their unique ID. Then you go to the survivor table, and you will paste that unique ID into the filter box. Click apply, and there you go. That's their current player in the database that they're playing on. And you can do things like you can edit things like their inventory, their medical stats. You can edit their in-game stats like zombie kills, survivor kills, bandit kills, and all of that. And that's really all there is to. And the last thing I'll show you how to do is how to export the database. This is quite common. People want to know how to do it. So what you'll do is you right-click on the database you want to export. Go to export as SQL. And you have all these options up here. By default, none of them will be selected. When you export, I recommend selecting the drop and create next to both database and tables. And in the drop-down, select delete plus insert. And then right here, you click the disk icon, put in whatever you want the database export to be called. We'll just call it export. Click save, and click export. Depending on the size of the database, the export can take anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 or 4 minutes. Just go ahead and let that run through. And once that finishes, you'll have a copy of the database to store for safety, or edit it in a text editor and do whatever you want with. And there you have it. That's just a basic rundown of how to use HeidiSQL to manage your database. I'll do some videos coming up here soon that'll explain how to do specific stuff like set up the custom loadout groups and buildings and edit vehicles in the world vehicle table and all of those different types of things. I hope this helps you get a better understanding of how to manage the database. I appreciate you watching. Again, I'm Matt from Valair. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. You can feel free to put in a support ticket on valair.com or jump on our TeamSpeak, ts3.valair.com. Thank you for watching.